Hey you guys, I am so excited about today's project, you guys. We are going to be making a lantern today using some simple frames from Dollar Tree. For this lantern, I'm using the 5x7, but really you could use any size that you want to be able to make this. And we're also going to be using some resin paper that I made using recycled decoupage paper. This is what the sheets look like. We have another video on how you guys can create this yourself, so be sure that you check it out. But we started out with the recycled decoupage paper. This is the Halloween blocks paper. It's become one of my favorites for the season. But you guys can see that you get multiple designs on one sheet of paper. Each of these sheets is 20 inch by 30 inch. And so this is what the paper started out looking at. This is how the paper started out, like this. But we were able to make it look more like glass using resin. So make sure you guys check out that video. I did want to show you guys last year's Halloween decoupage paper because some of the retailers do have this one in stock. And so this was the paper for last year's Halloween season, but like we can use it this year, right? So if you guys are looking for this paper, you guys can check out the list of retailers at roycycled.com, and they may have it in stock. But let's get to the fun part, you guys. Let's get started. So before we can begin our project, we have to disassemble one of the canvases. So the canvases come, and I was really surprised when I saw these at Dollar Tree, you guys, because they're actually stretch canvases. Super cute, fun for projects. Let me just get this one open because we're actually going to take the canvas off. So I'm going to take the canvas off of the frame, but I still want to have the canvas be intact somewhat so that I could use it another day for another project. So you guys can see like these staples is how this is in here. So we're gonna have to take these staples out in order to use this canvas. So using a screwdriver, I'm going to get underneath these staples and pull them out. So just get underneath them and pull them out. If you have a staple remover, that's probably easy too, but this is how I removed the staples from the frame. Once I remove all the staples, it's super easy just to take the canvas right off. And what I have left over is this perfectly finished wood frame, which is going to be perfect for a side of our lantern today. Let's just clean up this mess. So that's how I strip the canvas off of its frame. I have some here that I've pre-painted, you guys, but we can paint this last frame together. So we're going to use a little bit of this Poseidon to paint our frame. And you guys, just a quick coat of paint over this. Now I'm using paint to paint mine, but you can absolutely use glaze to stain your wood because this wood is unfinished. So you can stain yours if you want it to. Maybe you want it to be natural. You could whitewash it if that's what the look you were going for. I'm just gonna go around and look all around and make sure that I don't have any like drips or big globs of paint. I always like to do that whenever I'm painting all four sides of something. I'm gonna get this dry, and when we come back, we'll move on to the next step. Now that we have our pieces all painted, you guys, it's time for us to assemble. It is so easy. I'll be using my Ryobi glue gun. You guys, I love this glue gun. It's cordless, which is like awesome. And the batteries that I have on here are rechargeable. So you guys will see I was lazy with my ones earlier. I did not take the staples out. And I just think it's going to make a big difference. I like the frame a lot better with the staples pulled out because it really does look cleaner. But before we start assembling our actual lantern, I want to go ahead and put our resin paper over the back of our frames. I think it's going to be easier to glue them down now than to try to do it once our frames are assembled. So I have my resin paper and I'm simply going to glue it to the inside of the frames. Now note, you guys, this is what happens when your paper sticks to itself before it's fully cured. So let your paper cure for at least 6 hours before you try and move it. Lesson learned. So I'm going to trim this. I'm going to trim it just to the middle of my pieces on my lantern, because I want to give myself enough room so that I can glue it, but I don't want it to hang over so that you can see it on the outside of the frame. I want to make sure my ravens make it onto my lantern. I'm going to use a little dab of my E6000, you guys, to adhere my paper onto my frame. So I'm just going to put the glue on the actual frame and then lay the paper over that. So you'll see I didn't use a ton of glue, just a little bit, just enough. And I'm gonna glue my resin paper face down because I want the pretty part of the paper to be facing the outside of the lantern. I'm gonna leave that hole there. And so you can see now from this side, it just looks like some colored glass. And I'm just pulling on it because I want it to be kind of taut, right? And I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of my panes, making sure to really be thoughtful about my placement and how I want my paper to sit on my pane. So now that we have all of our panes glued in, look how cute that is, you guys. You can see them. You can see it directly through the paper, but not all the way. I mean, it's not completely see-through, but it's really cool. We can put a faux candle inside of our lantern, and it's going to be fabulous. So we have our frames all stripped and painted, and now we get to assemble our lantern. Super easy. So we're just going to take these corner by corner and we're going to assemble them together. The cool thing about putting it together, putting the resin paper on before you assemble it, is that most of your edges will be hidden. So I'm just going to go in with some hot glue, you guys, and put some hot glue along this edge here. And assemble my lantern. I'm being careful to make sure, ouch, that my edges are flush. So I just want to make sure that edge is flush, and I want to make sure this front edge is flush. I may have got a little carried away with the glue, but I'll just take that off later. going to hold that on there until it sets, and then I can move on to the next one. Let's see, I don't want the ravens right next to each other. And I'm being really thoughtful about how I am putting it on. So that night it's upright, my raven is upright. So you want to be thoughtful when you're assembling it about how your pieces are going to look on the final. So again, I'm making sure that my resin paper is facing in and that it's in the right direction. And just a little bit of hot glue goes a long way. I almost did that backwards. It's actually this edge I need to glue. You sure I see that? I almost made a mistake. I want to make sure that I'm gluing my sides the same each time. So these two are glued to the side of this frame. And then the last one's going to be glued to the inside of these two frames. So making sure that my raven are correct. And let me let this one set really well before, ouch, I move on. I laid my glue down on top of that one, so I may have to put a ribbon or something on the inside of that just so it looks finished. And so my last piece is to glue this one in. I would have made this easier for myself if I would have glued these on top, but I did not. So my lantern is pretty much made, right? Isn't that so cute? And it's just made with some Dollar Tree frames. Of course, I'm gonna have to go in and do a little bit of touch up, but it's pretty much made. But I thought it would be cuter if it stood off the ground just a little bit. So I found these blocks at the Dollar Tree. You get a little bag of them. I think they're like 12 or 15 in a bag. Super cute. So we're just gonna put some feet on our lantern just to finish it off. And because I thought of it afterwards, you guys, I'm gonna have to go in and paint them later, but I need to touch up my paint anyways, so we are fine. If you look closely at your blocks, the grain runs a specific way, so I just try to be cognizant to make sure that I have my grain run the same way. It doesn't matter which way, as long as it's the same way like the whole time. So I'm just going to glue my little feet on here so that my lantern can stand up off of the table a little bit. I need to get me some of those glue gun fingers. That's it. I'm just going to touch up my paint a little bit and paint my feet, and my lantern is done. I just love this project, you guys. I think it's going to be super cool. It's going to look fabulous on my tablescape, right? On my Halloween tablescape. You can see the unfinished edges inside of the lantern, so I may go in there and figure out something to trim it out with. I haven't decided. I'm going to put my candle in first and see how much you can actually see, and then I'll decide. And so that's it for our project today. Again, we just used some simple Dollar Tree frames. These are 5x7, but you could absolutely use different size frames to make different size lanterns. I used Poseidon from Wise Owl to paint my frames out, this beautiful color. A little hot glue and resin paper that we created using recycled decoupage paper. And remember, you guys, you can find the video for the resin paper. I'll have the video here for you so you guys can find it, so you can learn how to make this fabulous paper, because I can see this being used in so many different ways. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's project. Remember, if you're looking for supplies, you can look at roycycled.com. For craft supplies, you can look at roycycled.equip.com. And be sure and subscribe if you guys like today's video and you'd like to see more tutorials. If you hit the bell, you'll get an alert of when we upload new videos. But until next time, you guys have a blessed day and keep making.